I'll create a realistic, engaging 4-chapter story based on Sophia's weight loss transformation journey in New York. The narrative will follow her challenges with weight, health crisis, and personal growth, maintaining cultural authenticity without supernatural elements. Here's your story in English. Sophia nearly died at 290 pounds. Her transformation is unbelievable. Chapter 1. The steam billowed around Sophia Russo's face as she lifted the lid from the bubbling pot of her grandmother's secret marinara sauce. At 35, cooking remained the one thing that connected her to her roots, to the warm kitchen in Little Italy, where Nonna had taught her that food was love made tangible. The rich aroma of garlic and basil filled her cramped New York apartment, a sanctuary from the relentless pace of the city that never slept. Just a little taste, Sophia whispered to herself, dipping a wooden spoon into the ruby-red liquid. The familiar flavor bloomed on her tongue, transporting her momentarily to Sunday dinners of her childhood. But the comfort was fleeting, quickly replaced by a gnawing shame as she caught her reflection in the kitchen window. At 290 pounds, Sophia barely recognized the woman staring back at her. As executive chef at Bella Notte, a small but respected Italian restaurant in the West Village, Sophia's life revolved around food. Her customers raved about her handmade pasta and decadent tiramisu, never suspecting that the woman who created these masterpieces could barely climb the subway stairs without gasping for breath. The irony wasn't lost on her. Her greatest passion had become her prison. Sophia eased her aching body onto a kitchen chair that creaked under her weight. The joint pain had become her constant companion, along with the sleep apnea that left her exhausted despite 10 hours in bed. Her doctor's words from last week's appointment echoed in her mind. "Your blood pressure and cholesterol are dangerously high, Sophia. You're heading for a major cardiac event if something doesn't change." The apartment phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. "Sophia, you're coming to Mama's birthday on Sunday, yes?" Her sister Maria's voice was bright and insistent. "She's making all your favorites, lasagna, arancini, that olive bread you love." "I'll be there," Sophia promised, though the thought of another family gathering filled her with dread. The concerned glances, the well-meaning but hurtful comments about her size, the inevitable pressure to eat more, even as everyone whispered about her weight. Later that night, as she struggled to find a comfortable position in bed, Sophia scrolled through photos on her phone. She paused at an image from 10 years ago, a younger, slimmer Sophia, standing proudly outside culinary school, eyes bright with ambition. That girl had dreamed of owning her own restaurant someday, of traveling through Italy to study regional cooking techniques, of a life filled with adventure and possibility. "What happened to you?" she whispered to the image. The answer was complicated and simple all at once. Stress eating through long kitchen shifts, comfort food after failed relationships, the gradual surrender to fatigue and hopelessness, one cannoli at a time. As she drifted off to sleep, Sophia felt the familiar tightness in her chest, a sensation she'd been ignoring for weeks. Just indigestion, she told herself. Just another reminder of what her body had become. She didn't know that by morning, everything would change. The pain jolted her awake at 3:17 a.m., not the dull ache she was accustomed to, but a crushing pressure that radiated down her left arm. Her heart hammered erratically as cold sweat drenched her nightgown. With trembling fingers, she reached for her phone and dialed 911, terror rising in her throat. I think I'm having a heart attack," she gasped to the dispatcher. As the ambulance sirens wailed in the distance, Sophia had a single, crystalline thought. I don't want to die like this. Chapter 2. The harsh fluorescent lights of the cardiac care unit cast an unforgiving glow over Sophia's hospital bed. 3 days had passed since her emergency admission, and the doctor's diagnosis still echoed in her mind. Not a full heart attack, but a severe warning. Myocardial ischemia, they called it. Restricted blood flow to her heart. A preview of what was coming if she continued on her current path. "You're lucky, Ms. Russo," Dr. Patel said, reviewing her chart. "This time, there's no permanent damage, but your body is sending you a clear message." He looked at her directly, his expression kind but unyielding. "At your age and weight, with your family history of heart disease, you're facing some difficult statistics. However, this is still reversible. You can change your story." Sophia stared at the ceiling, tears sliding silently into her hair. The hospital gown stretched tight across her chest, another humiliation in a long list of daily indignities. She thought about her restaurant, where her sous chef was covering her shifts, about her father, who had died of a heart attack at 50, about the stairs in her apartment building that had become her daily Everest. "I'll refer you to our weight management program," Dr. Patel continued, "with nutritional counseling and a supervised exercise plan. They've had remarkable success with patients in similar situations." When Maria arrived later that afternoon, Sophia was sitting up in bed, her face set in an expression her sister hadn't seen in years: determination. "I can't live like this anymore," Sophia said before Maria could even set down her purse. "I'm killing myself with food, and I almost succeeded." Maria sat on the edge of the bed, taking her sister's hand. "What can I do? Tell me how to help." "I need to change everything," Sophia replied, "and I need you to understand that means family dinners too, Nonna's recipes, all of it." Maria's face fell slightly. "You know how they are about food. Refusing Mama's cooking is like rejecting her love." "Then I need to find a new way to show love," Sophia said firmly, "because I won't survive another year like this." The first week home from the hospital was a revelation in brutality. Sophia emptied her pantry and refrigerator, discarding pasta, cheese, cured meats, and the chocolate-covered biscotti she'd been saving for a bad day. Each item felt like saying goodbye to an old friend. The nutritionist's meal plan seemed alien: measured portions, foods that required preparation rather than unwrapping, vegetables that weren't smothered in olive oil and parmesan. Her first session with the physical therapist was humiliating. Even basic movements left her winded and drenched in sweat. "We'll start with water exercises," the young therapist suggested, diplomatically avoiding mentioning how the water would support Sophia's excessive weight. "And short walking intervals, 5 minutes, several times a day." That evening, Sophia forced herself to walk around her block, stopping every few minutes to catch her breath. An elderly man with a cane passed her, offering a sympathetic smile. The shame burned hotter than her screaming muscles. 2 weeks into her new regimen, Sophia sat across from her grandmother at the family's weekly Sunday dinner. The table groaned under platters of fried calamari, cheesy baked ziti, garlic bread glistening with butter. "You're not eating," Nonna observed, her lined face creasing with concern. "What's wrong with my cooking now?" Sophia swallowed hard, serving herself a small portion of the salad she'd brought. "Nothing, Nonna. I'm just taking care of my heart now." "Mangia! Food is what keeps the heart strong," her grandmother insisted, piling more pasta onto the plate of Sophia's cousin. "Look at you, wasting away already." The familiar tension rose in Sophia's chest, not cardiac this time, but the old battle between pleasing her family and saving herself. She looked around the table at the faces she loved, all showing varying degrees of concern, confusion, and disapproval. "I almost died," she said quietly, her voice gaining strength with each word. "I know our family shows love through food, but I need to find a new way to receive that love, because I want to be here for many more Sunday dinners." The silence that followed was deafening. Then her mother reached over and wordlessly removed the pasta bowl from in front of Sophia, replacing it with the salad. It wasn't full acceptance, but it was a start. Chapter 3. The autumn leaves crunched beneath Sophia's new running shoes as she made her way through Central Park at dawn. 6 months into her transformation, and her morning walks had evolved into slow jogs. At 243 pounds, she was still obese by medical standards, but the 47-pound loss had dramatically improved her mobility and energy. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jake, her personal trainer. Ready to add another quarter-mile today? She smiled, typing back a thumbs up. Jake had been skeptical when she first joined the gym. Another New Year's resolution type who would quit by February, he'd probably thought. But something about Sophia's quiet determination had won him over. Now he pushed her just enough, respecting her limits while refusing to let her settle into comfort zones. The restaurant had been another challenge entirely. How could she continue creating the rich, indulgent food that had built her reputation while fighting her own battle with that very cuisine? The answer had come unexpectedly through a regular customer who'd mentioned the Mediterranean diet. "It's still Italian," the woman had explained. "Just more vegetables, seafood, olive oil, the way they eat in southern coastal towns, not the Americanized version we've come to know." Sophia had begun experimenting, revamping the menu to include lighter options alongside the traditional favorites. Surprisingly, the new dishes had been well received, even attracting a different clientele. Her favorite creation was a seafood cioppino, rich in flavor but light in calories, that had recently been featured in a local food blog. After her morning run, Sophia stopped at the farmer's market to pick up produce for the week. She was examining a bunch of fresh basil when a familiar voice called her name. "Sophia? Is that you?" She turned to see Michael, a chef she'd known from culinary school, who now ran a popular farm-to-table restaurant in Brooklyn. They had briefly dated before their careers pulled them in different directions. The surprise in his eyes was unmistakable as he took in her changed appearance. "You look amazing," he said, the admiration in his voice genuine. "What's your secret?" Sophia laughed, a sound that came more easily these days. Near-death experience followed by complete lifestyle overhaul. You know, the usual. They fell into easy conversation, comparing notes on restaurant trends and suppliers. When he suggested they meet for coffee to discuss a potential collaboration for a charity dinner, Sophia felt a flutter of nerves that had nothing to do with heart palpitations. Later that week, a different kind of test awaited her. Her grandmother had been hospitalized with pneumonia, and the family had gathered at her bedside. Nonna, looking frail against the white hospital pillows, beckoned Sophia closer. "You're disappearing, Nipotina," she said, her voice weak but her eyes sharp as ever. "This diet of yours, it's making you sad." Sophia shook her head, taking her grandmother's papery hand. "No, Nonna. It's giving me my life back. I'm stronger now. I can climb stairs without stopping. I'm sleeping better. The restaurant is doing well with the new menu." The old woman studied her face. "But you don't come eat with the family like before." "The family dinners are hard for me," Sophia admitted. "I feel pulled between taking care of myself and not wanting to hurt your feelings by not eating your food." Her grandmother was quiet for a long moment. "Your grandfather, my Giuseppe, he died too young because he was stubborn about his health. The doctor said no more salt, no more fatty meat, but he said, 'What's life without pleasure?' So he ate his prosciutto and cheese, and then one day he was gone." Her eyes welled with tears. 40 years I've been without him." She squeezed Sophia's hand. "You think I don't understand sacrifice? Bring me your new recipes. We will make Sunday dinner together your way sometimes. I am old, but not too old to learn." The tears came then, from both women, a watershed moment in more ways than one. As Sophia embraced her grandmother, careful of the IV tubes, she realized that her journey wasn't just changing her body. It was healing generations of habits, creating new expressions of the love that had always flowed through food in her family. Chapter 4. Spring blossomed across New York City as Sophia marked the one-year anniversary of her cardiac episode. Standing on the scale at her doctor's office, she held her breath until the digital readout settled at 187 pounds, a total loss of 103 pounds from her highest weight. She wasn't at her goal yet, but Dr. Patel was ecstatic about her progress. "Your blood work is excellent," he said, reviewing her chart. "Blood pressure normal, cholesterol within healthy range, and your resting heart rate is that of someone much younger. Medically speaking, this is a remarkable turnaround. Sophia nodded, absorbing the validation of her hard work. The journey had been anything but linear. Plateaus that lasted weeks, social events that tested her resolve, days when old emotional triggers sent her searching for comfort in food. She'd slipped occasionally but had developed new coping mechanisms, calling her sister instead of ordering takeout, attending a cooking class to learn new techniques rather than drowning her sorrows in familiar recipes. Her body had changed in ways she hadn't anticipated. The loose skin around her abdomen and arms was a badge of both victory and ongoing struggle. Her face, once round and full, now showed cheekbones she hadn't seen since college. Strangers treated her differently. Store clerks were more attentive. Men made more eye contact on the street. It was a bittersweet revelation about human nature. The restaurant had evolved alongside its chef. Nuovo Bella Notte now featured a menu divided between traditional Italian comfort food and Sophia's modern, lighter interpretations. The press had taken notice with a recent review in the Times highlighting her personal transformation as part of the restaurant's renaissance. Michael had become a fixture in her life as well. Their professional collaboration had blossomed into a relationship built on mutual respect and shared passion for food as nourishment rather than escape. He understood the industry's challenges and had his own stories of finding balance in a world centered around indulgence. The biggest test of Sophia's new life had come last month, when she'd returned to Italy for the first time in a decade. Walking through the streets of Naples, where her grandparents had grown up, she'd been surrounded by the aromas and traditions that had shaped her relationship with food. She'd allowed herself to sample everything: the perfect margherita pizza, handmade pasta with clams, creamy gelato, but with the mindfulness and moderation that had become her practice. Standing on a cliff overlooking the Mediterranean, Sophia had felt a profound sense of connection to her heritage that transcended what was on her plate. The joy of movement, the pleasure of taste, the beauty of preparation, these were the true gifts of her culture, not the overconsumption that had nearly cost her life. Today, as spring sunshine streamed through the windows of her apartment, Sophia prepared for a special event. The community center, where she'd begun her exercise journey, had asked her to speak to their cardiac rehabilitation group. She'd initially refused, uncomfortable with being held up as an inspiration. But her therapist had suggested that sharing her story might be healing, not just for others, but for herself. Sophia smoothed her hands over the size 12 dress she'd bought for the occasion, still marveling at how differently clothes fit her now. She'd brought visual aids for her talk, her old chef's jacket that had stretched tight across her body, menus from the restaurant's evolution, and photos documenting her physical changes. But as she rehearsed her speech, she realized the most important transformation wasn't visible in any photograph. The weight was just a symptom, she would tell them. The real disease was disconnection from my body's signals, from my own worth, from the true purpose of nourishment. Food was never the enemy. Fear was. As she gathered her materials, Sophia's phone chimed with a text from Nonna. Made your zucchini pasta recipe for Bridge Club. They loved it. Proud of you, Nipotina. Sophia smiled, tucking the phone into her purse. The journey wasn't over. Maintaining her health would be a lifelong practice. There would be challenges ahead, both physical and emotional. But for the first time in decades, Sophia wasn't afraid of the future. She had rediscovered the ambitious young chef who had once believed she could conquer the world with flavor and technique. Only now she understood that her greatest creation wasn't on any menu. It was the life she'd reclaimed, one mindful bite at a time.